now for the nightly news with your hosts, Evan and Evan.
Hello and welcome to the nightly news. I'm Evan.
And I'm Evan. On today's program, we'll be talking to you about gender-neutral bathrooms, Macbooks vs. Chromebooks, reassessment policy, eligibility, phone distractions, and vaping. First, let's go to Hueda with gender-neutral bathrooms.
Should Polo Regional High School introduce gender-neutral/all-gender bathrooms throughout the school? This is a question we asked 5 students and teachers about the importance of making accommodations for students in our community. With the school's core values being community, citizenship, and character, these values must be exhibited throughout our school and including our bathrooms. Statistics show a baffling 66% of self-identifying transgender individuals avoiding public bathrooms, and 9% report that they were outwardly denied access to bathrooms. Here's how our community feels about gender-neutral bathrooms.
It's important to have accommodations that are reasonable for any and all kids for the sake of equity.
A proponent for gender-neutral bathrooms because everyone has a right to go to the bathroom that they choose to go to.
If they're meant for both sex, then it's okay. Meant for a single sex, then I believe that sex should be the only ones allowed in that bathroom.
I'm comfortable. I'm supportive of gender-neutral bathrooms.
In this society where like gender and sexuality is more of a fluid thing, why do we even like have these like separations?
A reasonable accommodation to access their environment, and I think that's appropriate.
Just as it is reasonable to make accommodations for students to access their environment, it is just as important to make sure students feel comfortable and safe to these possible changes.
Large population of the students who are open and comfortable with it, and then there'll be some students who are uncomfortable with it, a little uninformed, maybe.
People may feel uncomfortable if they used a restroom that the opposite sex had used.
I think at first it will be weird for some students, but I think that the weirdness will wear off eventually, and it invites students who feel uncomfortable in their own skin using in their case, the wrong gender bathroom.
Some students will feel uncomfortable, but Ms. Elias feels as though this awkwardness will wear off, and for some students, it will be an easy transition.
I would say it's about time.
For me, I know that I've gone to the restroom with people of the opposite gender coming in, if they're like a public bathroom.
That some students might have some concern about it and may act or speak inappropriately about it, and I think that's often just a question of lack of information.
I don't feel as uncomfortable because it's meant for both of them.
I mean, I never like really understood like the concept of like why male and female have to separate bathrooms in the first place, because it's just a place where you go to the bathroom. Like there's nothing bad happening there.
Bathrooms are bathrooms, and their main intent is to allow students to feel comfortable and create a culture of inclusiveness.
I think gender-neutral bathrooms create a culture of inclusiveness.
I feel it would help the kids who are trans at our school.
Every time there is change or there's something different that happens, I think that some students get a little bit nervous or worried about what that means for the school environment.
Invite students who feel uncomfortable in their own skin using in their case, the wrong gender bathroom. It'll make them feel more safe in school.
Like just more bathrooms, like I don't know, like if you're a lady, you understand like the pain of...
As I said, I think if it's a reasonable accommodation, I don't even know if the number matters. I think a reasonable accommodation for any student or group of students that can happen without disrupting the learning environment for all should be explored. And to me, that sounds like something that would be minimally disruptive, if at all, to the learning environment.
With an overwhelmingly positive response, it appears in the school's best interest to introduce gender-neutral/all-gender bathrooms throughout the school. This is Wada Nawaz, and I'm reporting for Nightly News.
Thanks, Wada. The conversation on gender-neutral bathrooms at PRHS will continue.
Next up, Brayden is looking at Macbooks versus Chromebooks.
Do you have a preference over Mac or Chromebooks? Well, here are some thoughts.
Other than the physical aspect of it, the biggest difference is Chromebook is always online. Like everything is saved online. There's no desktop and there's no offline applications you can use. So I found that I would have a hard time with that, actually. I'd have to get used to it, because I like having my desktop and like having that option.
I think the biggest difference is that the Chromebooks obviously cost less than the MacBooks, and like they're less, you know, the MacBooks are like higher quality and stuff.
Many issues have come in from students, but what do the teachers think about this problem?
So we had to learn what the students were looking at and what buttons they had in front of them to push, you know, to get what they needed done. Working on the cloud versus a hard drive. Some of those things were challenging. Also, getting used to apps that we never had any exposure to before, and finding apps that we need to use for the different applications in the classroom. So,
many students have faced both physical and technical issues when trying to adapt to these new Chromebooks.
So if you ask the kids, they hate them, right? They hate the Chromebooks. They're heavy, they don't work, they're cheap. But I think they're great.
Yeah, well, I know that some apps for like certain classes, like the classes Mr. Williams teaches, they like restrict them.
and my feeling is if internet ever shut down for a day, we essentially have to shut the school down, and that seems kind of odd. Yeah.
Along with technical issues, there are many physical issues.
So I've broken like 6 Chromebooks. One of them was mechanical, I think. It just shut off and it wouldn't turn back on and it wouldn't charge. And the other 6 were like, or other 5 or so were like, they were like the clips broke.
To every pro there's a con, but in this case it seems that the Chromebooks cons outweigh the pros.
I think there's Chromebooks and the Google interface and everything Google platform is becoming more widely known, accepted. I know the college I teach at Bates, it's all Google based. In the business world, a lot of it's Google platform, and I think that's a big bonus.
The cons, they're pretty much unlimited. Can't connect to the internet.
Them not working and internet being slow and or apps changing their platforms and having to go to another app.
After hearing all of these facts, which do you prefer, Mac or Chromebooks? I'm Braden Gurney, signing off.
Thanks, Braden. I appreciate the fact we have technology. What are your thoughts on that, Evan?
I also enjoy having technology we can use. But one thing I'm having trouble understanding is the new reassessment policy. Here's Emma to talk about.
Poland Regional High School. Reassessment policy is a way students can retake an assessment if they didn't meet the standards or meet their personal goal for a grade. The Learning Center is one of the places a student can retake an assessment.
It encourages me and forces me to plan a little bit more creatively around assessments, making sure that I can give multiple opportunities and be able to adjust them in ways that are still helping students meet those standards.
I think it only really affects people that like are irresponsible and don't really do their work and
Since the reassessment is a time-sensitive form, the teachers feel rushed to return papers to the students, and students feel rushed with the 2 classes they get to turn in the form as well.
I just feel like I have to get papers corrected and back quicker than I would otherwise, so that the students have ample time to pass in their reassessment form.
Teachers were expecting a positive reaction from students because of the second try they would get, but were sadly disappointed with the opposite reaction.
I expected students to be a little frustrated because they puts more responsibility on them to make a plan and reflect on why the reassessment is happening. I think overall students have kind of accepted the new policy. I haven't really heard a whole lot of positive or negative feedback on it, just the fact that students realize that there's a change in place and they need to understand how the process works now.
From the kids, I thought they'd be happy, but the reaction I got was kind of the opposite. I thought they'd be happy because they have a chance, guaranteed a chance to reassess on anything they don't do as well as they hoped on. but I guess they think it's like too much work, filling out a form, making a plan with the teacher, but I kind of like it. I guess the kids don't.
I feel like it's not good because kids should be able to reassess more than once because some might not get it as well as others. I think with colleges, professors aren't going to take a lot of late work, so making it a little bit harder to be able to turn in late work is good.
Teachers believe that the increase of responsibility brought with the new policy is good for students, but some students find it overwhelming.
I think it's good that the students have more responsibility and that process of making a plan and reflecting, and hopefully it encourages students to try their hardest and go about things in a more academically productive way the first time, to kind of minimize the need to have to do a lot of reassessments. But sometimes reassessments are needed, that's why they're there.
It makes me really try because I don't want to have to take it again. It'll make me want to procrastinate like a lot less than I do now and get stuff done when it's assigned instead of when it's due.
What's your opinion of the reassessment process? Is it perfect? Should there be changes, or should we just get rid of the whole process together? That's all we have for you today. From PRHS, I'm Emma Gagne. Have a great day.
Thanks, Emma. I understand the policy now. If any of you have questions, you should ask your teachers.
Speaking of reassessments, let's talk about eligibility. Here's Kayla with more information.
Here at PRHS, the eligibility policy is a complicated policy that determines students and how their grades affect their participation in co-curriculars. With this policy comes many mixed opinions.
I think it's like, if you want to be able to play sports, you got to be eligible. So there's a lot of like stress to stay eligible and like get your schoolwork done to be able to do the stuff you want to. Sometimes there's like really good players and sometimes they aren't the best at school work, getting stuff done. So like they could lose a good player and like that would be a big blow for the team and they wouldn't do as well. I think they're pretty strict about it. I mean, they do put a lot of stress on you because like they know when you play sports, so they're gonna help you, stay eligible.
So the co-curricular, it's any of our leadership positions where they have to vote for something, or if there's a co-curricular activity where there's a performance, like math team, drama is a public performance, speech and debate is another one. So I guess I would also include like Nor'easter Bowl if they're going to a competition. All of those students need to be eligible, and to be eligible you have to be passing roundtable and you have to be passing 6 academic credits.
I think they like talk to you in private, like see what they can do to help you with and how to help you, like stay eligible and do your schoolwork. Like they'll pull you out of class, talk to you about it, make times for you to make up work and stuff.
I think it's very student friendly actually. We have an opportunity for kids when we have an academic check, meaning that we're checking their grades, that there's an opportunity for the kids to save themselves by making sure that their how grades are passing. And if it's a how check, meaning the habits of work check, then the students can save if they have a poor how grade, but they're passing all their academic standards, they can become eligible. So in that respect, I think that it's extremely student friendly. The other piece that I think is student friendly is that there's a probation period if you're ineligible, that you're off, and then we'll recheck, so there's an opportunity to fix things to get yourself eligible again. And the other piece that I feel that's student friendly is that we don't require you to be passing everything. Certainly there are people that feel that you should be passing everything in order to be eligible, but we're saying if you have a big enough load, you have to be passing 6 classes. Anything less than that, you're not eligible. So I think in that respect, there's lots of student-friendly opportunities for them to become eligible.
I think that they just give them opportunities and state times that they could come in and get work done. I mean, if you're not passing the class, then you shouldn't really be able to get credit for it. So I think you should have to.
It's pretty simple for teachers. They evaluate the student in the classroom. So they're not determining eligibility, they're simply determining whether or not students are passing their standards. Very similar to that, students sometimes come to me because they feel that they've been graded unfairly. And quite honestly, I tell them, listen, I don't tell the teachers what to give you for grades. You have to affect, as a student, you have to affect your grade by what you do in the classroom and your performance. So I measure eligibility based on what the teachers report. Every now and then, I have a student come to me and tell me that, well, my teacher's going to make me eligible. And what I tell the students is, and I know it's just a play on words, what your teacher's going to do is say that you're passing the class. And when they say that they're passing the class, that for that class may make them eligible.
It doesn't really matter too much to me because I don't really pay attention to sports that much. For people who do sports a lot, I think they're really driven to try and be eligible and pass their classes. It impacts them a lot. I don't think anything's unfair.
Many students and teachers think differently of the policy here at PRHS. It is said to still be a work in progress and may be changed in the near future. I'm Caleb reporting for PRHS.
Thanks, Caleb, for talking about eligibility. Again, if you have any questions, you should ask your teachers.
Oh, people are eligible. Maybe phone distraction is part of the problem. Here's more about that. Here at PRHS, we have a phone problem.
Well, there are 2 policies really. There's a district policy that just got passed by the school board, and the district policy governs student use of cell phones in schools. Within the district policy, it also indicates that each individual school can come up with their own policies that are consistent with the district. So, for instance, the district policy says that teachers are permitted to take phones if necessary, if they're interfering with student work or with the work of others. The high school policy is that a teacher will come up with a classroom policy, so that might differ slightly from room to room. But the teacher's responsibility is to address the issue the first time a student breaks the policy, and then the second time address the issue and also contact home, and then the third, and collect the phone. And then the third time, the teacher will collect the phone, hold it till the end of the day, and send the student to the main office to discuss it with administration.
I believe the school phone policy has something to do, it's around the lines of you get one warning in class, and then you get your phone taken away, and if you get it taken away again, it goes to the office, and then you have to get it with a parent, or have a parent call home, or you have to call home or something like that.
I think maybe they were a little more, if teachers were a little more strict about the phone use policy, then there'd be less distractions.
I would say that it's important for teachers to establish a relationship with their students, and part of that is an understanding of how students use their phones. It is a part of just about everybody's life now, and we need to recognize that it plays an important role in the way that people function, and therefore the conversation should always be around what's going to be best for the student at this particular moment, and not simply about whether rules have been broken.
I just think that the 5 to 2 minutes during a class time would be very eventful for the teachers also, so I think it'd be a good thing to take into consideration, or at least try out, give an idea, maybe do an experiment in a single class, because why not try, what's the harm? Nothing bad is going to come out of that, it's just, you might find something else that you didn't know.
I don't think that would really help, because, I don't know, I don't think that would help very much, but maybe if teachers are a little more lenient.
I think that could work out really well for students because if they have that time to just go on their phone, check around, maybe text their parents, call their parents, things they need to do, check sports activities, after school things, kind of keep up with what's happening next or in the future for that day. I think that could really help teachers control the amount of activities people are doing on their phone or having during class time.
Now you see, at PRHS, we have a phone problem. I'm Evan, reporting from WPRHS.
Thanks for the report. Another problem or concern for the years are students experimenting with vaping.
In America, schools have had a struggle with students vaping during school.
The vaping industry may have started out well-intentioned to help people get what they're addicted to, nicotine, in a healthier alternative. But what it's turned into, I feel, is them taking advantage of people's addiction. And unfortunately, it works really well. So I don't like it. If it's used appropriately, like if someone's trying to quit and they're using vaping appropriately and they're getting the right dose of vaping or of nicotine, that's great, because sometimes that can actually be what helps someone quit smoking. But I have yet to see that be the case with our students.
Students don't think it's a big deal, but adults have a different opinion.
It bums me out because some students don't get how dangerous it is, and having conversations with them about this kind of stuff, they look to social media for their information, and social media information, you know, if it's on the internet, it must be true, but that's not where to go. And so sometimes they have arguments for all of the reasons I give them for why it's unsafe, and they're not necessarily appropriate or safe reasons. So it makes me sad that I can't reach out to them more and help them understand how bad it is.
I think that it's up to students what they want to do, and if they want to do that to themselves and jeopardize their health, then that's up to them.
And now they make so many different products that to actually get a safe product isn't really what people end up with. All the different flavors and smells are chemicals that you're putting into your lungs. The volume of nicotine in vaping is, goodness, I want to say that smoking one cartridge is equal to 2 packs. And a lot of students will report they'll go through a cartridge a day, which seems like nothing until you realize it's 2 packs of cigarettes. And it absolutely impacts their brain, and it impacts their ability to learn.
The start of vaping in school may have started out as a plea for popularity, but quickly turned south as students began to get addicted.
Most people do it to be cool, and then they end up getting addicted.
I think a lot of addiction is the actual chemical in your brain, but I think that a lot of addiction is the pleasure you get from doing something. So if every time you vape you feel awesome, you're going to want to vape often. If you do it and your friends think you're cool, then that's another reason to do it more often. And I think the social aspect of addiction is often overlooked.
Students and adults alike have started to create ideas on how to stop the outbreak in schools.
I just kindly turn them down. I mean, it's not for me, and if they want to do that, go ahead. I don't judge people who do it. It's not my place to judge people or tell on people for doing it.
Call them on it. Ask them on it. I think everyone's afraid to have those, what they think are like scary conversations. They want to be their kid's buddy, and maybe they think that they'll get more info that way. They won't. It's not going to happen. They need to just call them on it.
With the growing popularity of vaping, do you believe you'll get sucked in? This has been Gage Brusso with the WPRH Nightly News.
We need to do more research on this topic. That's it for our show. I'm Evan.
And I'm Evan. Have a great day.
Thanks for joining us for the Nightly News with your hosts Evan and Evan.